very tragic, and I couldn't imagine going through that as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I'm speechless. I don't know what to think right now.
This case takes us to Arkansas, United States, where a young girl's brave words to child care specialists would set the stage for a highly publicized crime. 6-year-old Jersey Bridgeman had suffered unimaginable abuse at the hands of her father and stepmother. Jersey had been forced to sleep on the floor, bound to a dresser with a belt after she got up in the night to get food. The police were first alerted to potential abuse when Jersey was found tied to a dresser with what appeared to be a silver dog collar. Jersey's parents, David and Desiree, were no longer together but shared custody. While things were fine at her mother's home, the situation at her father's house was a different, darker story. David and his wife, Jana, were arrested. In court, David admitted to tying his daughter with a belt, but insisted it was to prevent her from getting into things she shouldn't. Rogers police detective Larry Taylor noted in the affidavit that David believed Jersey might have been sleepwalking, and they had discussed buying a child gate, but couldn't afford it because David was unemployed. David explained that he initially cut a belt to go around her ankle, and when she escaped, a lock was added. When Jersey complained that the belt hurt her leg, instead of stopping the abuse, it was moved to her waist. In late 2011, David and Jana were arrested. David pled guilty to charges including permitting child abuse, false imprisonment, and endangering the welfare of a minor. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Jana was also convicted on the same charges and sentenced to 12 years, with an additional 3 years for violating her probation. After the arrest, Jersey moved back in with her biological mother, Desiree. She started kindergarten at Sugar Creek Elementary School. In March 2012, the family moved to 608 Southeast A Street. Next door lived Amanda and Zachary Holly, a newly married couple. Amanda and Desiree were best friends, and moving next to them seemed like the perfect, fresh start for Jersey. Jersey was described as a sweet girl, always cheerful despite the hardships she had endured. A family friend said, "I don't know how she dealt with everything, but she did. She kept smiling through it all." Jersey loved being a big sister to Leah, and things were finally starting to look up. But everything changed on November 20th, 2012, just 6 days after Jersey's birthday.
Bentonville 911, what's the address of the emergency?
It's 608 Southeast A Street.
At 6:43 a.m., officers were dispatched to 608 Southeast A Street in Bentonville, Arkansas. Jersey Bridgeman was missing. Desiree told police that the night before, she had worked late and came home around 11 p.m. on November 19th. Her boyfriend was also at work, so Jersey and her little sister Leah had spent the evening at the Holly's house. It wasn't unusual for Zachary and Amanda to babysit when Desiree or her boyfriend had to work. After getting home, Desiree went over to the Holly's house to pick up the children. Zachary carried Jersey back to Desiree's home, while Desiree carried Leah. The girls were put to bed together. Before falling asleep, Jersey woke for a moment and told her mother, "I love you to the moon and back," her favorite way of saying she loved her. When Desiree woke the next morning, she went to check on the girls, but Jersey was gone. She searched the house frantically, checking under the bed, in the closets, and other usual hiding spots, but there was no sign of Jersey. Desiree immediately called her own mother, who urged her to call 911. Before dialing, Desiree looked outside and saw Amanda sitting on the porch. Amanda had not seen Jersey either. The police arrived quickly as every second counted in missing child cases. They began searching the Bridgeman house, and then the Holly's house next door, but Jersey was nowhere to be found. There were no signs of forced entry. Officer Travis Nichols noticed something unusual. The back door of a neighboring property, 704 Southeast A Street, was open. He and Officer Mike Henson went to investigate. The house was vacant and scattered with rubbish. As they moved cautiously inside, they came upon a bedroom and found a body on the floor. The officers immediately left the property and sealed it off, securing the area for a search warrant. Vicky, Jersey's grandmother, had arrived and asked the officer, who was visibly distraught, if Jersey was inside. The officer didn't answer and just looked at her. It was then that she knew the news wasn't good. Jersey Bridgeman's lifeless body was discovered in the bedroom closet, just 2 doors down from where she had lived. She was found face down, with pajama pants tightly wrapped around her neck 3 times. Desiree's father was tasked with the heart-wrenching job of identifying her body while they awaited a search warrant. Desiree herself was interviewed by Detective Corporal J.C. Wiseman in an effort to piece together a timeline of events. She told the detective that when she entered the bedroom at 6:38 a.m., Jersey was nowhere to be found, and that was all she knew. As the street was sealed off and the media swarmed in, people struggled to grasp what was happening. They were desperate for answers, but there was little information available. A small bike lay in front of the house Jersey had called home, alongside a deflated balloon decorated with princesses, symbols of childhood innocence now tainted by tragedy. The police had no suspects and very few leads. With the help of the FBI, they began interviewing several known sex offenders in the area. A police captain stated that anyone who had been close to Jersey would be thoroughly investigated.
6-year-old Jersey Bridgeman died sometime between midnight and 6 a.m. on Tuesday. We also know that the FBI is now in on the investigation with Bentonville police to try and solve the case. Several people have been interviewed and 3 homes were searched in the neighborhood where Jersey's body was found. Police say even though no one has been arrested yet, the investigation is moving quickly.
I feel confident that we've taken steps that we need to take as quickly as possible. And I feel confident that the answers to all of our questions are within reach.
Police also say the holiday weekend will not put any kind of delay on their investigation.
The house, it's difficult to see with the light, but it's behind these series of trees here. And police have been here all night. They're still here this morning. The chief here in Bentonville is calling this a homicide, and the work to find the person or persons responsible for this crime continues this morning. Here's what we know so far. Investigators collected evidence outside this house most of the day Tuesday after the 6-year-old was reported missing, then found 2 doors down from where she lived. This morning, we expect officers will deliver even more evidence to the state crime lab in Little Rock, and we've confirmed that they're waiting on a warrant to gather more clues in this neighborhood.
We do have several residents of interest on Southeast A Street, as seen behind us here, and of course that residence is not the only one. And we're working on either search warrants or other methods to be able to thoroughly inspect those residences.
But there are a lot of questions that we have this morning, and investigators aren't saying much at all this morning. We're hoping to learn exactly what happened to this little girl, and we're also want to know how close officers are to making any arrests.
Among those interviewed was Amanda Holly. Her account aligned with Desiree's statement. She had taken care of Jersey the previous evening, and Jersey had gone home with her mother afterward. Another individual who was questioned was Amanda's husband, Zachary.
I remember looking at the time, it was 3:35. My stomach was hurting. I was going to Easy Mart to get some Pepto-Bismol.
Zachary, 28 years old, lived with Amanda and her son. He worked at a local restaurant and had a criminal history, with 3 prior arrests, 1 for public intoxication and 2 for contempt of court. His childhood had been difficult. His mother struggled with drug addiction, and he had endured severe physical and sexual abuse, along with neglect. He told police that he woke up at 3:35 a.m. with an upset stomach and walked to a nearby Easy Mart, just 150 yards away, to get some Pepto-Bismol. CCTV footage later confirmed his story. Zachary explained that after returning home, he went back to sleep. He then said he woke up at 6:30 a.m. to get his 4-year-old stepson ready for school. About 10 minutes later, Desiree told Amanda that she couldn't find Jersey anywhere. After searching without success, Desiree called 911, but she was so distressed that she handed the phone to Amanda. Desiree then went to the Easy Mart to tell her boyfriend that Jersey was missing. This was the same Easy Mart where Zachary had gone earlier. Zachary denied any involvement in Jersey's disappearance and cooperated fully with the investigation. He handed over the clothes he had worn the previous night and provided a DNA sample to the police. Investigators were also able to confirm that Desiree's boyfriend, Brandon, had been at work at the time of the disappearance. As the morning went on, authorities obtained the search warrant and began searching 704 Southeast A Street. Jersey's body was removed from the scene and sent to the Arkansas State Crime Lab, where an autopsy was performed the following day, on Wednesday, November 21st. Investigators began to question if Zachary's trip to the Easy Mart had been an attempt to establish an alibi, so they decided to speak with him again. 2 more search warrants were executed, one for Jersey's home and another for Zachary and Amanda's house. Zachary explained that he and his wife often babysat Jersey and her sister until their mother got home from work, and this was nothing out of the ordinary. When the autopsy results came in, they were shocking, even to the most seasoned investigators. 6-year-old Jersey had died from asphyxia, and it was confirmed that she had also been raped. The crime lab team worked through Thanksgiving to develop a DNA profile from the sperm cells they had found. Detectives continued interviewing individuals and collecting DNA samples from those deemed persons of interest. In the meantime, the local school district announced that they were finalizing a plan to help students cope with Jersey's tragic death and to address the situation in an age-appropriate manner. Counselors were made available to both students and parents, offering guidance and support on how to handle such a devastating event. Over 100 people gathered at the Children's Advocacy Center to participate in a candlelight vigil. The attendees were visibly heartbroken, mourning the loss of a young life taken too soon.
We just wanted to maybe find a way to process our grief and probably a lot of sadness that the community feels and a lot of the questions that we all have that we don't have any answers to today, and just felt like that this would probably be an appropriate way to do that.
Jersey had a unique quality about her, as described by Beverly Angle, the executive director of the center. She was a little old soul, yet such a delight to be around. Friday, the 23rd of November, 2012.
So just to be absolutely clear, Zach, you've made a decision on your own to do this polygraph, and I'm assuming for the purpose of trying to clear your name.
Yes, because I want you to find the person who did this.
Zachary called Sergeant Chris Moffitt and expressed his desire to take a polygraph test. 3 days later, the results came in, and Zachary was back at the station before he could even attend Jersey's funeral. By then, the DNA results from Jersey's body had also come in.
The polygraph results indicated deception, meaning that you failed the test. The DNA matches your DNA.
Amen. So I believe I didn't do it.
He maintained his innocence, but before long he cracked.
What do you guys want to know? Put the things around her neck, and I tied it in a knot.
He also drew a floor plan of the house showing where he had left her body.
That's the hallway. There's the bathroom right here.
The police strategy had truly paid off. They had kept certain details from the media and the public, details that only the killer would know. and those details were known to Zachary Holly. As a result, Zachary Holly was arrested. He was the man who had often cared for Jersey. He was the same man seen in news footage standing by the police tape at the crime scene, wearing a striped blue hat and a black jacket. He had denied any involvement. Yet, he was also the man Jersey had called Uncle Zach.
LR Bentonville police say 28-year-old Zachary Dwayne Holly was arrested this evening, charged with capital murder, kidnapping, and residential burglary.
We're outside of his house this morning here at 702 Southeast A Street. His house is between where Jersey Bridgeman lived and where they found her body Tuesday morning.
This investigation has been assisted by the Rogers Police Department, the Benton County Sheriff's Office, as well as numerous other local law enforcement agencies that comprise the Benton County Child Abduction Response Team. And the Arkansas State Crime Lab was instrumental in the timely development of this case and this arrest.
We didn't actually see any family members in the news conference earlier this evening, but we were informed that the family does know about the arrest. In fact, we saw Chief Simpson at the funeral home there with the family during the visitation earlier, telling them about the arrest which had been made, letting everyone there know that they were going to hold a press conference tonight. So yes, the family does know. However, we're not sure if any of the folks in the police department here tonight were actually family members of Jersey Bridgeman. Back to you.
Julie Pickard, who lived on the other side of the property where Jersey's body was found, later recalled that the day after Jersey's body was discovered, Zachary had cried for a long time. When police visited her later that day, they asked if she had seen a man wearing Mountain Dew pajama bottoms. Zachary had been wearing those pajama bottoms.
Yeah, friends and family of Jersey Bridgeman are gathered behind me here at Rollins Funeral Home for the visitation, which just got underway a few minutes ago. People paying their respects tonight include administrators from Sugar Creek Elementary, where Jersey was a kindergartner. Earlier today, teachers at the school broke the news to all the children and answered any questions they might have. Pam Blair, the school principal, says they did not provide much information to the students other than the facts that Jersey Bridgeman died, and police are still investigating. Faculty members allowed the students to write and draw pictures about how they were feeling, which helped determine who needed the most intensive counseling. Blair says it was the older students in 3rd and 4th grade who had the toughest time with it. 35 to 40 students needed counseling.
Jersey's funeral took place at Bentonville Cemetery, and both students and staff from her kindergarten had planned to wear purple to honor her. However, her father was denied permission to leave prison and attend the service.
Friends, family, and even law enforcement showed up to pay their last respects for 6-year-old Jersey Bridgeman. Jersey's funeral procession got a special police escort by the Bentonville Police Department.
There's closure a little bit.
In time, there will be. And I think she'll always be remembered no matter what.
Friends say 6-year-old Jersey was a loving little girl.
She's been through a lot. She was very quiet, but, she always laughed. She had the biggest smile that you could have. She made sure she showed you her teeth, and she loved her parents and all of her family more than anything.
Bentonville Police Chief John Simpson stated that the exact details of what happened to Jersey, or how the police had connected Zachary to the crime, would not be released. Neither would the motive behind the crime. The paperwork filed by the prosecutor revealed that Zachary had restrained Jersey with the intent to engage in sexual intercourse, deviant sexual activity, or sexual contact with her. Prosecutors also announced that they would be asking the jury to impose the death penalty. The day before Zachary was set to appear in court for the judge to assign him a public defender, authorities reported that he had been attacked in prison. While he was being held in the county jail, an inmate there on a parole violation had snuck into his cell while delivering clothes and towels. Zachary was not seriously injured, and for many, this attack was seen as something he deserved.
More justice will probably be served in Benton County. So, as reports showed, he was beaten this morning, and I don't think it's going to be the last.
Captain Chris Sparks commented, "Obviously, this case has received a lot of media attention, and every inmate knows what he's in for. We're going to do our best to ensure his safety. just as we would for any other inmate. When Zachary appeared in court, escorted by officers and dressed in a prison jumpsuit, he remained silent as reporters waited to catch a word from him. There he stood, the man once trusted to care for Jersey, now formally charged with kidnapping, residential burglary, and murder. Rape was later added to the list of charges. As the charges were read, his arms could be seen visibly trembling. He was appointed a public defender and ordered to remain in custody without bond while awaiting his next court appearance. Zachary entered a plea of not guilty to all charges.
Basically 100% of the time at a plea hearing, it's going to be a not guilty plea. By going to an arraignment and pleading guilty, basically all you're doing is preventing the state from having to meet their burden against you.
Andrew Sheeler is a defense attorney who says a plea deal in this case isn't likely, even with the death penalty on the table.
In a case as high profile as this, I don't see a plea bargain coming along that would create a situation where the state would not be interested in pursuing the death penalty.
It was an emotional day for Jersey's family. Her mother, Desiree Bridgeman, was visibly shaken after the short hearing. She left quickly with family members after Holly entered his not guilty plea. I reached out to Jersey's uncle, who said he would not talk on camera but did say, quote, "These are hard times." And in Jersey's neighborhood, purple ribbons still hang as a tribute to the 6-year-old and a reminder that a community is still mourning.
2 mental evaluations were conducted, one by the state hospital for the prosecution and another for the defense. Both concluded that Zachary was competent to stand trial. However, the trial faced delays when one of his attorneys announced he would no longer represent him. He explained that he could not provide effective counsel while battling depression and alcohol abuse, and as a result, he would not be adequately prepared for the trial. This meant a new public defender had to be appointed, which caused great frustration for Jersey's family due to the delay. Finally, the trial began. A reporter present in the courtroom noted that Zachary appeared visibly nervous and on edge throughout the proceedings. One of the key witnesses was the state medical examiner, Dr. Frank Peretti. He demonstrated for the court how Jersey had tried to claw at the pajama pants that were being used to strangle her. "I knew the cause of death as soon as I opened the body bag, doctor," Peretti said, pointing out that Jersey's hair and a necklace she had made at school were tangled in the pants. Zachary could be seen shaking in his seat as these details were shared. The medical examiner explained that Jersey had suffered retinal hemorrhages due to strangulation. When asked how the body typically responded to strangulation, he explained that the victim would experience panic, with bleeding in the eyes starting after 60 to 80 seconds. "There may be some pain, and then you eventually black out," he added. He also showed photographs of Jersey's body and her injuries, which caused powerful emotions in the courtroom as they were deeply distressing and difficult to view. While these images were horrific, they underscored the cruelty of the crime. During the trial, Zachary remained emotionless as the photos were shown, and the courtroom fell silent when his police interview was played. The DNA evidence linking him to the crime was also presented. Lisa Channel from the Arkansas State Crime Lab testified that the hair found on Jersey didn't match Zachary's, but this was not definitive due to insect damage. The sexual violence Jersey endured was evident in her injuries and the semen found on her body. Chief Forensic DNA Examiner Melissa Myhand testified that sperm cells were taken from Jersey's body and shirt, and confirmed with scientific certainty that Zachary was the primary source of the DNA. However, she clarified, "I cannot say with all scientific certainty that it is his DNA, but I can say he cannot be excluded." During the trial, the defense attorneys chose not to call any witnesses. In both their opening and closing statements, they acknowledged that their client, Zachary Holly, was responsible for the death of Jersey Bridgeman. Zachary was convicted of residential burglary, kidnapping, rape, and murder. At this point, the defense shifted its focus to trying to save him from the death penalty. As part of these proceedings, several witnesses were called. including a DHS worker from California, where Zachary had spent much of his childhood. The defense sought to show that Zachary had been a victim of abuse and neglect, citing 15 referrals and investigations into physical and sexual abuse he had endured as a child. Zachary had lived in 9 different homes and changed schools 23 times as his mother struggled with deepening drug addiction. The DHS worker testified that the system was broken and that Zachary and his family had fallen through the cracks. She stated that he had been removed from his home only once, but was quickly returned. She added that she and other DHS workers felt they had failed to protect him properly. The jury's task was immense, as they had to decide whether the death penalty was an appropriate sentence. Just reading the instructions to the jury took more than half an hour. Soon after, the jury returned their verdict. Zachary Holly was sentenced to 20 years for residential burglary, 2 life sentences for rape and kidnapping, and the death penalty for capital murder. One by one, the defense asked the jury to confirm that their verdict was unanimous, and one by one, the jurors confirmed that it was.
After his sentencing, Holly spoke for the first time in his trial. He said in part, quote, "I sincerely apologize for the pain and suffering I've caused. I hope you can one day find it in your heart to forgive me." He was immediately handcuffed and taken into custody.
I'm going to keep loving my other ones, you know. I'm going to keep going on as a mom, keep with my little girls, the other 2. It has been pretty much an ongoing funeral. You know, we finally get we no longer have to remember a bad day. We get to remember, you know, our baby. We get to remember the good times, no longer have to focus on the nightmare.
While sitting on death row at Varner Supermax prison, Zachary Holly appealed the sentence he had been given. He argued that Judge Brad Caron, who had presided over his trial in Benton County, had made an error by denying a directed verdict for the charge of residential burglary. He also claimed that the jury should have been informed that he had offered to plead guilty to the capital murder charge, suggesting that his willingness to accept responsibility could have been considered a mitigating factor. His final argument was that his motion to suppress his statement and confession to the police had been wrongly denied. After reviewing his appeals, the Arkansas Supreme Court upheld his sentence, finding his arguments unpersuasive. This ruling came as good news for Benton County Prosecutor Nathan Smith. While appeals are common in such cases, he expressed hope that this decision would make it unlikely for Jersey's family to endure another trial. Zachary later appealed again, claiming ineffective assistance from his lawyers and arguing that his conviction and sentence should be overturned. He also contended that there had not been enough evidence presented about his mental health issues. However, none of his appeals were successful. Jersey's father later gave an interview from prison, where he shared that he had never met Zachary but knew of him. He admitted that he had been in shock at first and had a hard time believing the news. He explained that Jersey had meant the world to him and that his drug use had played a significant role in his mistreatment of her. He acknowledged that while he wasn't a bad person, he had made mistakes that he would have to live with for the rest of his life. Jersey Bridgeman's story serves as a tragic reminder of the vulnerabilities children face and the unimaginable cruelty some endure. It's heartbreaking to think about the suffering she must have gone through, especially knowing it came from someone she trusted. Jersey deserved a chance at life. She deserved the opportunity to grow up. Her unwavering spirit, even in the face of such hardship, is a testament to her character. She never lost her smile, even through the hardest times.